What is happening? Happy Monday to you. It is one day post Mother's Day, and hope all the moms out there had a fantastic one. Another great weekend, another great Sunday in the NBA and the playoffs. The Cavs look like they're on the brink of elimination, down 3-1 to the Pacers, and the Nuggets and the Thunder tied at 2 apiece. Jonah Dillon of the Commercial Appeal will join us on the show to break down the playoffs and give us a summer update on Tigers football. The 24th floor starts right now. Joining me on the show is a man who needs no introduction, but I will give him one anyway. Reporter for the Memphis Commercial Appeal, gives you a little bit of everything and every man. It's Jonah Dillon. JD, what's happening with you, man?
Wow, my first time on the show in studio. I feel like I've gotten the whole experience because I was with you in Seattle. We did that kind of live from Climate Pledge Arena.
Yeah, you've had
and then
every iteration of the show thus far. This is why I love this man, because whenever I call Jonah up, he's like, yeah, man, I got you, no problem, whatever. He's been on Zoom, done the show. We went out to Seattle for the tournament, did the show, and now he has blessed us with his presence in the studio.
I'm honored.
We can only have a fantastic show.
Of course, it's going to be great.
All right, let's jump into our big idea of the day, because these playoffs have been crazy. Big idea is that the Indiana Pacers have a big lead in their series with the Cavs. The Pacers went up 3-1 after a 129-109 blowout where they took a 41-point lead into halftime. Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, and Obi Toppin all scored 20 points plus. Cavs star Donovan Mitchell left the game early in the second half with an injured ankle, and the 3-1 deficit points to a potential second-round bounce for the 64-win Cavs.
We haven't done anything yet. We're going to keep approaching this like we have everything to prove. And we know people don't believe in us. And so we're going to just stay in the fight and keep fighting.
Probably wasn't given anything. We in a situation where, like, at the end of the day, nobody really cared to see us win, you know. So when you have that and you have that belief of, like, it's us against everybody, it's like we are who we are.
Jonah, the Grim Reaper knocking on the door for the 64-win Cavaliers that just blew everybody out of the water all season long in the regular season. What's going on, man? What's happening with these Pacers?
Well, everybody got injured for the Cavs,
That's
right?
fair.
I mean, you gotta take that part of it, especially at the beginning of the series, and then suddenly, like, the team that they had that won all those games in the regular season is not the team that's out there. But the Pacers are good. Like, the Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I feel like people kind of forgot. You heard Rick Carlisle there saying, like, nobody believed in us. Like, maybe we should have. I mean, that team did well last year. They brought back the same team. 3-1 in the series, especially with what they did in Game 4, super impressive. And, like, this is a legit team. Like, this team has been building for a couple years. Tyrese Halliburton has played really well. And this is just a team that's going to compete at the top of the Eastern Conference.
Well, I think what's kind of funny is, like, these last couple of games, Tyrese really hasn't played well. He's had these big, really big moments in the playoffs thus far. He has a couple of game winners, right? He's had his moments, but in these last couple, it really hasn't done too much. And, of course, they lost the last one, right? He only had 8 points. I think in this the game they just had, going up 3-1, he had 11, 5, and 5, right? So he's playing okay, but the supporting cast really showed up in this one. And Donovan Mitchell being hurt, I think, really raises the question as they go forward, like, do you play him, right, and hope that he is okay to get through the rest of the playoffs, or with a 3-1 deficit, do you kind of rest him and, you know, you guys wave the white flag and kind of hope for next season and hope that maybe Darius Garland and Evan Mobley can get the job done for you coming back? But we know what the odds are when you go down 3-1, so like 95%. The team that's up 3-1 advances. I mean, it doesn't look good for these Cavaliers.
No, it definitely doesn't. But at the same time, like, this is, like you said, they won all those games in the regular season. There's no reason why they can't win 3 games in a row. Like, especially 2 of them would be at home. Now, the injury is a huge problem. Donovan Mitchell, like, if he's not 100%, if he's 50%, whatever it is, then you're in a lot of trouble because obviously he's the guy that kind of runs your whole team. I don't think you can rest him. I mean, like, you got to it's the playoffs elimination game. Like, it doesn't matter. You 50%, 20%. As long as you're not hurting your team, you got to be out there. Like, if it's a point where you're out there and you can't walk and you can tell that they're hunting you on defense and it's a huge problem, then, okay, you're not going to play. But if you can come out there and impact the game and give whatever you have, you got to do it. It's Game 5. It's elimination game in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I can see a world where they definitely go in there and test that ankle just a little bit. Let's see how well you can defend. Let's see how well.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe they get a Pascal Siakam kind of in the post scenario and see how well he holds up down there. When you look at this Pacers squad, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, it does seem like they were overlooked. It definitely seems like they're taking it almost personally, right? That a lot of teams, I think the way Pascal Siakam said it was, nobody cares to see us win. Do you think that is the case? That like you think it's a market thing? We're like, we don't really want to see Indiana in the finals again. Like,
I don't know if it's Indiana. I think people are. It feels like throughout the NBA, people are not necessarily huge fans of Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like that's what the problem is. But like, look, Pascal Siakam, like he won an NBA championship. Like I feel like when that trade happened, when he went to Indiana, people kind of like, oh, whatever, they're getting someone, but they're still not going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Like Pascal Siakam is really good. He was an all-star. Like I said, he won an NBA championship, and he's somebody who can be like a legit 1B type player to Tyrese Halliburton. And again, like whatever you think about Tyrese Halliburton, his dad, that the storyline.
The whole thing with his dad was insane.
But like that was the storyline. They beat the Bucks. Obviously, Damian Lillard gets injured, so that was kind of expected. But like the storyline in that series was Tyrese Halliburton's dad. Like at a certain point. And the storyline in this series is like the Cavs getting injured. Like at a certain point, we have to talk about the Pacers like winning games because they've done a lot of it over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, you do have to give them some love because they certainly have done the job thus far. And all you can do, right, is just play the game that's in front of you. They can't help that Darius Garland, Evan Mobley were out those first couple of games. Then they get some injury luck here with Donovan Mitchell. And now it looks like the Cavs are on the brink of bouncing out here in the second round after what was a fantastic regular season. We got to talk about the other series that happened on Sunday as well. The Thunder were on the brink of going down 3-1 as well before rallying from down 8 points in the fourth quarter to take a 92-87 win and tie that series up 2-2. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 25 points to match Nikola Jokic's 27 in the battle of the MVPs. But the multiple MVP winner was just 7 of 22 from the floor. MVP candidates, I should say. That series continues Tuesday in Oklahoma City. Jonah, really an uncharacteristic stretch of games for Nikola Jokic in terms of his ability to score and his shooting. What do you think the Thunder have done to really frustrate him? It seems like game 4 is a little different from game 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're making it really hard for him kind of whatever he does, right? The thing that gets Jokic is if you can make him a shooter, that's probably your best bet because if he's staying on the three-point line, he's not impacting the game that much. What they've done successfully, again, like not successfully enough to win that game yesterday, which is kind of crazy, is that I think he said after the game, like, yeah, I played terrible. Well, they still won. So if you can win when your best player, the MVP, is playing like that, you're probably in a good spot as a team. They've made it really hard for him on the interior, too. I mean, they've got bodies, or they've got Isaiah Hartenstein, they've got Chet Holmgren. So it feels like every time you see Jokic kind of going into the lane, trying to get to the basket, there's bodies there just trying to make it hard for him, and he's taking really, really difficult shots, and he's missing them, and so that's a success for them. At the same time, if you're doing that, that means you're collapsing the defense, which means the guys are open in the corners probably, and if they're hitting those shots, you're going to be in a lot of trouble defensively.
Yeah, I think Jokic goes, 9 for 27 in that game, 9 for 22, he has 27 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really didn't shoot crazy well either, but the way the Thunder defense has suffocated Nikola Jokic, I think, has been really incredible the last couple of games. And game 3, they just sent so many different looks at him, right? And then game 4, they did something similar, but I think in this one, they didn't allow him to facilitate. And I think that's kind of to your point. If you can make him a shooter, that's probably where you're going to be okay. Like he might give you 40 points because he's that good. But if his teammates can't get involved, if you can't have an Aaron Gordon in the mix, if you can't have a Russell Westbrook giving you points as well, Michael Porter Jr., I think that's kind of where you really give yourself the best opportunity to win, and that's what Oklahoma City has done. They kind of like, we'll let Jokic beat us in this one, but everybody else, you guys can't get involved.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you go back to the playoff series last year with Minnesota against Denver, the way the Timberwolves won the series was basically saying, okay, Jokic, you can score 50 points or whatever. As long as you're not getting 10, 15 assists a game, that's fine. Like, you can be a scorer. The facilitation is what makes him such a devastating player to play against. And Denver's getting a lot. They're getting a lot from other guys. I mean, how about Russell Westbrook? It's crazy, especially the narrative of going back against OKC, especially after playing the Clippers last year. He was clearly fired up about, or last series, clearly fired up about that. And dude just plays hard. He just plays hard for however long he's out there every single game. And for a team that has nothing from their bench, basically, they just have that. He's been huge in this series.
Father Time cannot touch Russell Westbrook's effort at all. The Thunder rally that, or even up that series at 2 apiece. That series goes back to Oklahoma City on Tuesday. We're going to take a little break here, but when we come back, there's been 1 year of a 12-team college football playoff, but we're talking about expansion, baby. Plus, We get an update on Tigers football from Jonah. That's coming up after the break.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app, streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
How big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
The college football playoff could be expanding again. After 1 year of the 12-team playoff, a 16-team playoff is gaining some traction. According to Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger, the commissioners of the Power Four conferences met to discuss that potential. The proposal would include 4 automatic bids each for the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 to the ACC and 2 to the Big 12, 1 to a group of 6 champion, and 3 at-large spots. Jonah, you cover college football. You cover the Memphis Tigers college football team specifically. When you look at a 16-team playoff nationally and then kind of in the context of the Memphis Tigers, what kind of comes to mind for you?
Well, I mean, I feel like this is what we expected, right? Going to 12 teams felt like a temporary solution because there's a lot of money at stake. More games means more money for everybody, not necessarily the players, although maybe we'll get to that soon with this revenue sharing stuff, which we could spend an entire day just talking about, which I won't get into.
And the players making their money and how do we do it, all that.
But yeah, I think expansion, it makes sense it's going to happen. Like you just mentioned there, I think the way that they do expansion is going to be interesting because you have so much power right now with the Big Ten and the SEC. Can they wield that to make sure they have like auto spots? Basically, one of the things that they're talking about now is like basically having inter-league playoffs for, okay, the 3 versus 6 and the 4 versus 5 or whatever it is are going to play each other kind of instead of a conference championship game, because we saw last season the conference championship games were completely devalued, right? 'Cause even some teams being like, why would I want to play in a conference championship game?
Because it only hurts you at that point, right? Like you go and you have such a fantastic season, you get to the finish line here, right? And then you're in that conference championship game, you lose, and now your spot's potentially lost or worse than what it would have been if you hadn't played.
What some teams want, like, so it's like for Clemson last year, right? They actually were like, this is great, we can now make it to the playoff, where they wouldn't have had a chance at all before that. But then some teams, like SMU obviously made it in, but there were a lot of SMU fans that were saying, why are we playing this game? Like, if we're already in the playoff, why do we want to lose our spot at this point? I think it's interesting also that there's still, with this proposal, going to be a spot for the group of 6, I guess, with the Pac-12, because that was something that a lot of people talked about after the original format was made of like, okay, the group of 5 is going to have this spot for at least a couple years, but we don't know what the future is going to look like. And you saw how important it was for Memphis and for all of the teams that are in that field of like, you have legitimate access to the playoffs. So like, if you're the Tigers, you can recruit people saying like, we think we can go to the playoff this year. Right. If they took away that access, which obviously didn't exist before that, it's a huge difference in terms of the kind of climate that you're operating in if you're one of these teams, because then you can't sell that to recruits. You can't sell that to, this is our program, this is how we're going to grow. You saw what it did for Boise State last year. So that's going to be an interesting one too. If they still keep that access, it's big for all those teams.
Yeah, do you think 3 at-large spots, 1 for the group of 6, do you like the way it's the teams are divvied up, 4 each for the Big Ten and the SEC? Like, I mean, how much more access are they? They're already going to get the preferred look at it, right?
Like, that's why it's hard also. It's like, I feel like I would have to look at it on a year-by-year basis to say like who's actually going in. I think one of the problems you sort of saw it this year is like that many teams, especially the at-large and the auto bids for conferences, you're going to get to a point where teams are like booking their playoff tickets a couple weeks left in the season. And we love the last week of the college football season because the rivalries and everything, and the games are so important. Like, think about every time you watch the Iron Bowl, and it's like this team is either going to the SEC championship or the national championship, or their season is over. With this, it's like, okay, if you get to that point, teams might not even have incentives to really play that hard in those games, even though they're rivalries. So aside from the rivalry, there's going to be a lot of teams that have already said, okay, we're in the playoff. Let's prepare for that. Let's rest up. Especially in a 16-team playoff, you're going to be playing that many games after the season ends. You got to prioritize your health and stuff. So there's a lot that's going to come from this, I feel like, in terms of, offshoots and, okay, this team's going to approach this differently. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, it's only expanding, right? We're not going to get less teams in the playoffs, so this is where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, money is king, right? We know that is the case. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they do keep it divvied up the way I think it is right now. I would personally like to see, maybe one more group of 6 team that's playing really well. I think what we saw this year was like Memphis would have really loved maybe one more opportunity to play, potentially to get in there. You had an Army team last year that was really, really good. That I don't know that anybody quote unquote wants to see Army in the college football playoff, but Army wants to be there, right?
Of course,
and I think having that wild card would have been really interesting for college football fans, kind of everywhere. I did like what we did, the 12-team playoff, bringing in kind of the on-campus playoff games. I thought that was a really fun aspect and really added something to what the playoff looked like. But it'll be really. The way I thought we were going to have the 12 team for like a year or two, right?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, no, let's blow this open as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, so we can continue making this money, especially with revenue sharing coming in. It's like, all right, we got to pay these players now. We need as much money as possible. Let's kind of switch gears to Tigers football specifically. Spring football has wrapped up for the Memphis Tigers, and now they can look ahead to the summertime and eventually the fall after coming in 4th in the AAC, missing the college football playoff in their first shot at it with a 12-team playoff. We'll see what they are able to do here going into maybe potentially a 16-team playoff. Jonah, you are the beat writer for the Commercial Appeal on the Memphis Tigers college football program. When you looked at the spring game and what came out of that, what were some of your biggest takeaways? Yeah,
I mean, the spring game, it was all about Arrington Maiden at quarterback. He kind of played the most out of any quarterback and played well, had 2 long touchdown passes. And if you were a fan there, you were like, who's this guy wearing number 7, right? Because we talk about the quarterback competition. A lot of it is about Brandon Lewis and about A.J. Hill. There's only 3 quarterbacks on this team, right, coming out of at the end of the spring. And Arrington Maiden played really well. He's somebody that they've been really high on since he got here. He's a redshirt freshman, obviously didn't play a lot last year, but kind of had that experience of learning from Seth Hennigan, and in a weird kind of twist ends up as the most experienced Tigers quarterback on the roster.
In terms of guy in the jersey.
Right, you've got Brandon Lewis, who's obviously started 30-plus games, but comes to Memphis this offseason, and then you've got A.J. Hill, who's a 17-year-old freshman coming in. I thought Arrington Maiden looked really good. I think, like I said, he's somebody who could be a college quarterback at this place or somewhere else. And then I think you saw with the receiver, CJ Smith was the guy that stood out. He had one of those long touchdown catches from Arrington Maiden. He's somebody who obviously speed. That's the thing we've heard kind of all offseason from Tim Cramsey, the offensive coordinator, is we're going to be faster. CJ Smith is like a former track guy. You saw that. He's really fast. If he gets behind the defense, it's kind of over. And so obviously losing all 3 of their top receivers from last year, that's been a big storyline, who's going to play receiver. And at least from the spring game, now you don't want to take too much from it because basically a scrimmage, some people aren't actually playing.
Arrington is the only quarterback on his spring team.
Right, so like the other team, they have 2 quarterbacks splitting time. Brandon Lewis played 2 series, so it's not like we're going to take, hey, he won the starting quarterback competition because he played better in the spring game. It was a scrimmage. We know what we were watching, but like I said, there's some things that I think were encouraging signs, and CJ Smith definitely be one of them.
How have they addressed some of their holes kind of in that spring portal window now that spring football game is over with, but they're bringing in some new guys for the fall?
Yeah, well, they lost Xavier Hill, who's a starting offensive lineman, in the spring. That was a big loss. He goes to Colorado, and so suddenly you need to replace a starting somewhere on the offensive line. And the thing about Xavier Hill was that he played basically every position on the offensive line. Obviously wanted to play on the interior.
He was a plug-and-play guy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that I think made him realize, because Xavier Hill is one of those guys, if he's going to play in the NFL, he's going to be a guard. He's going to play on the interior. And what was happening in Memphis is the last 2 seasons he kind of ended up playing tackle because they just had to move things around. They had someone else who could play guard. They needed someone to play tackle. And again, they're coming into this offseason saying we're going to hopefully have him play guard, but you never know. He goes to Colorado, I would expect him to start and probably on the interior, and so that's what he needs, that tape, to be able to play in the NFL. I think that's a big one, and then defensive line too. You've seen a lot of guys coming in. That's one where you can never have too many guys to rush the passer, right? I mean, cliche, but they need somebody to rush the passer. I mean, the way this defense is set up, it's kind of been the guys up front clear things out for the linebackers.
Yeah.
But if you could find somebody who can play defensive end, consistently get to the quarterback, that would really unlock a lot of stuff for the way that Jordan Hankins wants to play defense. And so I think that's something that they're looking at kind of in the spring and then as we get into fall camp.
Real quickly, what's the number one thing that Ryan Silverfield still needs to address going into the fall?
You mean roster-wise?
Roster-wise, program-wise, any of that?
I mean, I think it's just the offense. I think it's who's going to play quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we think Brandon Lewis is going to play quarterback. All the signs point to Brandon Lewis being the quarterback for this team when they start against Chattanooga at the end of August. But if you go into a season and we don't have a starting quarterback named yet, which obviously it's the first time in a while around Memphis because you just kind of went in every offseason and said, Seth Hennigan's the quarterback, let's talk about something else. There's been a quarterback competition, and so even though it feels like they're in a good spot and they feel confident, we just talked about Arrington Maiden, obviously Brendan Lewis, somebody coming in with a lot of experience, and they're excited about that. But look, you still have to name a quarterback. That's always going to be the biggest thing. It's the most important position in the game, and so figuring that out, being confident with that is the biggest thing going into the start of the season.
All right, Jonah Dillon for the Memphis Commercial Appeal, beat writer for Tigers football. Make sure you read all his work over there. We got to take a little bit of a break, but Jonah, I appreciate you being on the show with you, my guy. Yeah. And we will talk to you again soon because when the fall comes, we're going to need you for sure. Coming up, we got to talk about more Memphis Tigers on the hardwood. Instead, a rivalry renewed for Memphis basketball. They are taking on somebody that they've taken on a lot in the past. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app, streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
It's how big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Nobody really expected him to be what he has become on this team. And that is one of the Iron Men, quite frankly. He has played in all 79 games, and he started in 74 of them. And so when you have a guy like that, he's been nothing but dependable pretty much all year. And when you have a guy who's dependable pretty much all year, you've got to find folks to fill in his space. Jalen has been arguably the best wing defender on the team the entirety of the year. He's had so many games this season where he has been tasked with defending the best player on the team or the best perimeter player on the other team. He's had some phenomenal defensive performances, shutting down the likes of Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. And even when they've had really good games, they still had to contend with Jalen being in their hip pocket.
I wanted Michael Jordan to come. I wanted Scottie and them to come. You know, they was winning championships in my town. It'd have been great for them to come pass out toys and turkeys and things, but they didn't do it. Not saying now that it ain't a reason why I should, because they not from where I'm from.
Right.
So it's on me to go ahead and change that narrative. It's on me to go back and get hope. And that's what I do, man, even till this day, man. From Maine to Spain to China, Carolina. If it's a hood near you, TA gonna be there.
So it's always good being back in Memphis. Just it's home, and being back always feels like that.
It's actually really the more disturbing thing I saw this week. Not really comforting, especially if you're a Grizzlies fan. Grizzlies getting into a little shoving match against the Utah Jazz. Desmond Bane goes full two-arm shove into Santi Aldama and would look like a pretty heated argument on the sideline, on the bench, and during a timeout. Grizzlies trying to hold the ship together. Just 10 games left in the regular season. Welcome back. It's been 8 years since the Memphis Tigers and Louisville Cardinals went head-to-head on the basketball court, but that will end this winter. The two programs announced they're launching a 6-year home-and-home series, starting with the Tigers playing in Louisville at the KFC Yum Center on December 13th next season. The series comes back to Memphis in the 2026-27 season and will run through the 2030 season. The two programs haven't played each other since they met in Madison Square Garden back in 2017. Penny Hardaway said, renewing this rivalry with Louisville means everything, not just for Memphis, but for college basketball as a whole. These are the kinds of games that bring out the best in both programs, energize fan bases, and are the reason players want to come to play at Memphis. So certainly something to look forward to for the Tigers basketball program moving forward. Mother's Day football for the Memphis Showboats taking on the St. Louis Battlehawks. Got to show love to the former Memphis Tiger, Jalen Allen. If my VO is here in a little bit, gets around the edge. There we go. There he is. Skipper showing love to the players. We got to show love to a former Memphis Tiger, Jalen Allen. Gets around the defender, gets around the edge, finds himself a quarterback snack and a sack to help force a punt. But the Battlehawks not to be deterred. Max Duggan, the former TCU quarterback, showing off the wheels all the way down to the 5-yard line. 30-yard scamper sets the Battlehawks up with good field position, and Duggan wasn't done, calls his own number again. That's a touchdown. Pinballs his way across the line. They're up 7-0. Second quarter, Boats down 10-0, and they get the motor going. Dresser win to Jonathan Adams for 6. 2-point conversion, no good. The Boats down 10-6 at the half. We go to the third quarter. Hawks extend their lead. Duggan finds Ja'Cour Pearson in the back corner of the end zone. They go up 16-6. The teams would exchange field goals after that, but that's about it for all the fireworks. Showboats fall to 1-6 on the season after a 19-9 loss.
I went for it on 4th and 1 early in the game, and I actually did it twice and went for it. Didn't get him, and it hurt us, right? It hurt our football team, right? So I'm doing that because I said, you know what, I'm not going to go down, and I'm not going to go down because I'm not being aggressive.
Yeah, it's been very frustrating just because in the locker room, like, we have a lot of talented guys on this roster. This is probably the best Memphis team I've been a part of, definitely the best defense. But we don't blink. You know, everybody's together in this, and I feel like, you know, we feel like we could beat anybody in this league, and it just hasn't been that way right now. So
let's talk about the beautiful game. Regional championship between Evangelical Christian and Lausanne on the campus of St. George. First half, Lausanne's Najee Gondor going to line up a shot on goal. A good diving save from ECS's Adrian Franks keeps us knotted up 0-0. But the Lynx not to be denied. A little confusion or maybe trickery from Lausanne. Ball in the box, headed by Gondor. Stopped by Franks. Gondor again, no good. But Jonathan Nwokiji playing cleanup. Scores just in front of the net. Lynx take a 1-0 lead in the 28th minute of the first half. Let's go to the second half, looking for some insurance off the throw-in. Ball batted around, ball in the air, ball on the ground. And finally, it's Amro, who snubbed in just minutes before, puts one in the back of the net, and the Lynx going to take this one 2-0. They are your D2A West Region 6 champions. Congrats to all of those guys. We got to take a little break. Coming up, Travis Hunter has yet to make his NFL debut, but is already going down as a viral man. One woman recalls her story about sitting next to Travis on a plane. That's going to make you feel real good on this Mother's Day. That's on the other side of the break.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24+. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24+. The 24+ TV app. Streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24+. Complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
How big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24+. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24+. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene, faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24+. Download free on your TV now.
What would you do if you were seated next to the NFL's #2 overall draft pick? Over the weekend, one woman took to social media recalling her interaction with the Jaguars' newest star, Travis Hunter. On a flight back home from Denver, Sandy Hawkins Combs was seated next to Travis Hunter, but had no idea who he was. And after hearing people congratulate and take pictures with Hunter, she asked him, "Who am I sitting next to?" Combs posted to Facebook saying, "Offered to put my bag in the overhead compartment, help me with my tray. He was always polite, saying yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Someone you would definitely want to be your grandson." Shout out to Travis Hunter, and I'm sure the Jaguars are in very good hands with their new number 2 overall pick, wide receiver and DB. That's going to do it for the show today. Appreciate my director, Jared Robinson, my producer, Rich Denson, and of course, Jonah Dillon for joining the show today. We are back on Thursday for another episode of the 24th Floor. But until then, I will see you later.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 24 Plus app everywhere you stream.